So how do you start a podcast?
I think you just put a song in front of it, like da 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 da.
Someone asked ChatGPT, what's the best way to intro a podcast, right? You're Bobby.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Dipak. So let's ask a big question. All right. Let's paint a picture.
Right.
You have joined a new business.
Yeah.
Take any role you like.
Okay, great.
You've got 100 days. I wrote it down here because I'm not very good at remembering stuff. You've got 100 days. If you took over the whole organization, what are the things that you would do in those 100 days? So give yourself a bit of leeway. Don't count them. Don't deny because of your pride. What would you do from your perspective in those circumstantial 100 odd days to really embed what you want to see as that vision? You own this business now. You're going to change the security posture.
Go. Okay. Right. You start with the basics, and we need to understand where we're at now. So, asset inventory, right? Understanding what's going on
Asset
in the
inventory.
business. So, what devices we have, what data we have, which systems we have, what software we have. The basics. What do we have?
So
what
you
do we
want
work from?
you want a clear visibility of all of your asset inventory.
Yeah.
100% of your universe needs to be visible for you.
If it's not 100% visible, it's okay. Sometimes we're at a point where we can't get past that. We don't know everything, so we can't move forward with step 2. Yes, you can. You can come back to that.
So you've got your asset inventory.
Yeah.
What's next on your list?
So you've got your asset inventory. And then what you have to do is you have to look at, within this asset inventory, what sort of risks might be here, right? So like maybe a basic risk assessment. So based on this, what are some of the risks we might have?
How are you going to get that asset inventory and how are you going to get that risk assessment?
You just put it on paper, anywhere, maybe not physical paper, right? You need to document it somewhere, right? Let's just put it somewhere. And then for risk assessment, what we have to do is we have to figure out how we assess risk. What does risk mean to us as a business? Because it's different depending on what business it is.
So I'm going to pull you in. This is your business now.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? How are you going to assess that risk? And what is it you're looking for as an output?
So I'm going to look at perhaps, I'm trying to think of an example business.
I don't know, pick one. It's a typical IT business. You provide services to support other manufacturers in something or other.
Okay, so we need to just make sure that on a basic level, and we're talking about the base level foundation, all of our systems, all of our software, we understand where it is and what it is. Check. Okay. Within this, how is it configured and how is it running? So we have data. Okay, do we know where this data is? Do we know what type of data it is? So is it sensitive data? Is it financial data? And based on that, once you start to look at the details, you can understand whether it's a bigger risk, right? If it's sensitive data, higher risk, straight away. So it's just about measuring it in that sort of a fashion.
So your inventory, what you've got, where it is, and its classification.
Classification on some sort of level, even if it's broad, some sort of level that gives you the indication of where the priority might lie. Yeah, so you prioritise it. You do your risk assessment once you've got that figured out, yeah?
So that's based on your business's appetite to those different categorizations. You've got your payment information on there. That means you've got sensitive data from people. Yeah. So you've probably got some policies that apply to that as well. Yeah, in terms of how you should handle it.
There's particular standards and policies that you'll have to follow from so you've got your PCI audit, for example, and there's certain classifications. So like in terms of like scanning servers, it's more regular. You know, there's different protocols you need to follow based on what type of risk it might pose, especially for something like PCI.
So it feels like you're building a baseline of gathering what you want to know.
Yeah.
Where is your strength? Where are your weaknesses? Yeah. So you've got what you've got, where it is, how it's configured, how compliant it is. So you've got the compliance levels. Where you're at. Day 30, just for fun. Right, so
probably day 22.
22, all right, you'd be very precise on that, I like that. So you're at day 22, you know what your estate looks like, your digital estate, you know how it's configured, where it is sitting, etc. You know what levels of compliance and what policies apply to the different variables in the systems. What are you going to do with that information?
So once you kind of know where your risk is at, you have to think about the quick wins at this point, right?
Okay.
Especially at this level. You know where your risks are. You might find critical vulnerabilities. That's your go-to, right? They're the most critical based on your risk assessment. Critical and high, we deal with them first. So you've got so many here, it's a massive list, right? And you can't get through them all. So you start with the quick wins, the top priorities and the things you can do. So you might look at your high priority vulnerabilities, but then you also might look at like the basic level stuff such as, okay, we have loads of systems which have users on there that no longer work in the business. So it's about cleanup, making sure that everything's
User access stuff.
Stuff, making sure everything's cleaned out that way. You might look at your critical vulnerabilities, you might introduce MFA, so it's just tightening the strength you've already got, yeah?
Sure.
So you would focus on the high priority. Quick wins, what can you do quickly in order to reduce the risk based on what you've currently got?
And it's you can do these in parallel, what I'm hearing from you, because certain stuff is straightforward, certain stuff's going to need a bit of planning.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be waiting for one for another.
No.
You're at day 23 and you've got things to change, because you need to change your security posture, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're doing some low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You're doing some of these bigger changes because you've got the data. You've probably, hopefully not sitting on an Excel sheet somewhere. You've got some sort of single
Hopefully
source.
at this point you've got to a place where...
There's a CMDB involved at some point where you've got an understanding of how good it is. I'm going to sound like a technician by the end of this. That's your mission, right? And then you know where your compliance levels are. You've begun responding to that, so you're becoming more and more compliant. And we've spoken before about compliance being the minimum standard you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So anything less than that, and you should just see it as not good enough.
Yeah.
So you're at day 30-ish now?
Yeah, probably.
What's happening with this information? You're beginning to understand your compliance levels. You're beginning to see low-hanging fruit disappearing. It's now not so low-hanging fruit. What are you doing next?
I think at this point you can try and introduce sort of some of the measures you want to take now, right? So you've got yourself at a point where you can maybe think about some of the processes and procedures that allow you to look at your security posture entirely. So this
is the point. You've taken over this business, right? We're in day 30-something. You now want to introduce repeatable processes. This is where you, as the leader of this business, are going to invest now. Because all of it before felt like stuff that people could do that were already around. You're going to invest time, resources, strategic focus. But am I sounding like I'm in your team now? Because it feels like a good team to be in.
Yeah, so at this point what you need to do is you need to make sure you've got the things available to ensure this posture and ensure this control, yeah? So you might look at things like, for example, if you currently had, say, a SIEM tool, so a monitoring tool, you might look at it and think, okay, well, what is it monitoring? Can we add it? Can we get more visibility of the now created asset inventory that we have? Can we pull more things in to monitor? You might want to upgrade that to make it better, to make it more secure. So you then look at sort of the tooling that supports it and think, okay, based on what we know now, based on our risks, and based on the potential threats that it poses, how do we ensure that our tooling supports that?
Right. So you're now looking for that sustainable level. So that level you've raised up becomes the minimum level because you've improved your processes to maintain. So where are we at? We've got to be getting close to day 50
we're
plus
close.
here on this, aren't we?
And then I think you also need to try and introduce some tests, right? So now that we know where we're at, we have to test our posture, and this needs to be an ongoing thing. This can't be something that happens once and it's forgot about. If a hacker was to hack in, what would happen based on the attack vector as well? So what type of attack? So you can start to look at what type of attacks might be relevant for you. And based on whatever attack type is coming, let's do it and see what happens.
So hold on, this is you're producing something around that playbook world.
Yeah, it's more like red teaming, where people basically simulate attacks, based on, so for example, one route would be a phishing attack. You might get a DDoS attack. The different vectors that target different areas as well. Yeah, so you need to think about all of the ways in that people can try and hack. Not just the one, not just the phishing email. And based on the playbooks. So sometimes these playbooks, which we use in order to create that and security incident response, might be from your playbooks and your runbooks. So it's the same thing.
So you've built awareness of what you've got. You've built an ability of assessing how it is conforming or performing. You're raising that up to at least compliance, which you've said before is the minimum standard. So less than that, you shouldn't be sleeping at all, let alone clocking off for the day. You've now improved your processes around day 50, 60 plus, where you've now got the ability to test paths of vulnerability and those vectors. I'm going to have to steal all these. I'm going to have to Google everything afterwards. That's fine. We'll do that. Now you're in a position, let's take you up to, I feel you're around day 80 now, in your first 100 days of your, of your promises to change the business, right? So what else do you want to see that takes you to that first 100 days, so you can exit on day 101 and say, we now have a better security posture?
So now that you've done your testing, you know where you're at, you can start to tweak things like security incident response plan or response plans in general. Yeah, you can start to tweak these based on your lessons which you've done for these tests.
Right.
So you can start to create more of that, not only strategic but operational. How do we respond to this? You know, response plans. What do we do when this happens again?
Because it is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So you produce the continual improvement, the self-assessment. Is it the classic Deming cycle? So you're planning, checking, doing, acting?
Yeah, you can do the vulnerability assessment cycle, security assessment cycles.
Yeah.
And then once you've got a point where you're happy with your response plans, what you can start to now do is think about ways that you can educate the people around you to this.
Right.
Yeah. And that could be, if it was me and I was running my own, I would make it super interactive. I would make sure that there is some sort of go-to session online or something in person where people could ask questions, maybe some workshops to talk about cyber. Because not only that, cyber can be super interesting depending on what you're talking about, yeah?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, things change, people change.
Yeah.
I mean, only nerds had phones when I was growing up, and now everyone's got one, right?
Yeah.
And so it changed. You know, a file of facts, now everyone's suddenly got a digital file of facts in their pocket. So how would you make cyber that more open to people? How do you go from a lot of technical strengthening to then on day 90-ish, you've come to the business and said, look, I know our posture, I can see our strengths and weaknesses, but now it feels like you want to talk to the people? You
would translate it in a way that they understand. So, if a cyber attack happened or something happened, say on one of the servers, which was running the contact center, you would say to the contact center people, if this happens, your contact center goes down, and this is what it means for you. Automatically people listen.
So you need to invest them in that real world.
Sometimes you need to invest in the real world, right? On their operational level. What does it mean for them? For other, that's crazy, I can't believe that would happen, but what does it mean for them? And most of the time they can relate that way, and then they'll listen more. Wow, really? That'll take out, if that happens on that one server, it can take out the whole of and then you don't get the sales in, and make it relatable to them in a way that they understand. So it goes in easier.
I like that, but it's that one word you said that made me smile, is that the relatable bit.
Yeah.
Because then you're suggesting, if I can chuck it back at, if I'm hearing this right, you're suggesting that most cyber campaigns are so generic, they mean very little to most people.
No.
And you want to see those operational areas. This is what it means to you.
Yeah.
This is what it means to you. This is what it means to you. This is what it means to you. And it can't be the same message, can it?
And it never normally means the same thing.
Right.
It doesn't mean the same thing. You know, I think that it's very generic, and I think it's very marketing type. You know, it's very like, you do like your security awareness training and make sure you don't let anyone through the doors. Of course not. People are thinking,
manual handling, make sure you bend by your knees. No, I'm going to bend by my elbows because that's what I do. Yeah. But it's true, isn't it? It's just really basic stuff that doesn't help me.
You just need to build that awareness of cyber in terms of what it means for the cyber team, but also the rest of the business. And you need to constantly talk about it. You know, it can't be a thing you forget about. So constant awareness, maybe these drop-in sessions to talk about cyber, for people to learn about cyber as well. You know, there's been so many conversations I've had with people, and they've said, how did you ever get into cybersecurity? What made you do it? And the reality is it's different for different people.
Yeah.
For me, it was because I was working in IT and infrastructure, and I was working on a software system, and then automatically I was talking to the cyber team about the risks, and it drew my attention in, and I think that in order to have these drop-in sessions, people will ask questions that will become not so taboo, or in the corner in a dark room, it'll be much more open conversation. And I just think that it needs to start from the very beginning as part of that culture. But the people at the top need to be the ones to say this is important, because everyone listens to the big boss, everyone listens to the person at the top. If there's no focus on it, why would there be focus on it? It has to be driven down.
But you've answered the question in your 100 days. You are the big boss in this question. So you don't get to sit on the, it's not the big boss. So you've given that. And it feels like there's a roadmap there. And at the end of it, you're doing the discovery, you're cleaning house, you're spring cleaning, you're strengthening, making sure the same mistakes don't happen again. But you're basing it on real life data, and then you're approaching it through the people change as well to make sure that continuous cycle of awareness, building on what you've got and not letting it slip back.
If you want to get yourself just set up, it's the basics of, okay, what do we have here? What does that look like for us in terms of risk? How can we secure it better than we've already got? What do we do when that security is threatened? And then how do we make sure that we continue to improve that and get the message out so that we can reduce the threat of people, and that becomes less of a risk as well.
Okay, so to sustain that, you're going to need specialists at certain points to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Within your business or out of your business as well. And then you're going to be in a position where you're never going to sit static, because the threaters, the threaters, again, I'll add it to Wikipedia, it is a word. The threaters are continuing to improve. So you've got to keep improving. Yeah, so
it only gets more challenging, which is why it's really important to continuously build on it. If you've got nothing right now, you're 10 steps behind already.
Yeah, and then if you've had to do it manually to start with, you need to utilize technology to automate what you can.
Yeah.
To repeat stuff that's boring, so people don't quit out of boredom.
You can't automate processes or script that you've not created yet, right? So if we don't know how we deal with a DDoS attack, how do you automate it? Which is why it's important to start really small and perhaps manual for a short period of time, so that you know what that looks like. So you can build it in, and then you can improve on it. How do you just create something if you have no idea what actually happens or what the risk poses?
In your journey, you discovered where the faults were. Start picking them. Scale and complexity will decide how much you invest, whether you automate straight away or whether you carry on afterwards. But also bringing in the right specialists at the right time, having them in your team embedded, and having the voices in the right places.
It's really difficult operationally to put the attention on that when you're constantly fighting fires. Right?
But you're in charge of this business.
But sometimes the excuse is used too much. Yeah. We are busy. We are keeping things. We are making sure that nothing happens. Excuse, right? To a certain point, yes, that's fine. But there has to be extra attention at the side of that to address it, so that you're not constantly fighting the fires. You're proactively managing it. You can't always just say we're just getting stuff. And of course, that's a priority. But there has to be that side element of prioritizing the proactive approach to it and how this is going to look later on and how you're going to manage it.
If you're firefighting, which you have to stop the fire, I'm hearing from you that you might have to do an invested project to do some protective stuff. And even if it means you do project cycles, because you've got so much firefighting, other than firefighters, I don't know who has that much firefighting, but we understand the reality. But it might mean you've got to do consistent, budgeted, resourced projects to keep strengthening so the fires start reducing. Otherwise, you just become a firefighting business, which is a pretty tensionous place to work. You'll probably quit on day 105 at that point, because you can't be just fighting fires all day.
And it sounds like a very basic thing to say, give it attention. But that's the reality, give it attention.
Actually.
No, let's give it the real attention, not just the words,
Okay. 100 days. I like it.
Yeah.
So I want to physically see that cultural change where risk is the number one thing on everyone's agenda. But within risk, everybody in every department says, what have we done about cultural change? Have we actually got a record of how well people understand their role in cyber threat?